The Last Breath, a story by Holden Beck 10 days before. The message, the text came through at 2:47 a.m., which is universally recognized as the hour when nothing good ever happens. I was awake because sleep had become this theoretical concept I had heard about, but couldn't quite achieve. My laptop screen glowed in the dark, illuminating yet another spreadsheet of soil contamination data from the Sacramento Valley that made about as much sense as a cat trying to explain cryptocurrency. The numbers were there, sure, but they were telling me a story. I didn't want to hear something was wrong with the topsoil composition, and I couldn't figure out what or why. My phone buzzed, vibrated against the coffee table with that specific aggressive energy that says, "Pay attention to me right fucking now." I picked it up, squinting at the brightness. Unknown number, San Francisco earthquake. 6.2 magnitude. 38 hours from now. Epicenter near Daly City. I read it once, twice, 3 times because apparently my brain needed multiple confirmations that yes, someone was texting me earthquake predictions at 2:47 in the morning. My first thought, spam call evolution. They had graduated from pretending to be the IRS to pretending to be psychic. Points for creativity.
Not again.
My second thought, this is how they get you. Next message would be click here for earthquake preparedness tips, and boom. Suddenly, I am explaining to my bank why someone in Belarus is buying a jet ski with my credit card. My third thought, who the hell predicts earthquakes to 2 decimal places? I stared at my phone for another 30 seconds, thumb hovering over the block button. Part of me wanted to respond, ask what kind of scam this was, maybe engage just to see how the con worked. But it was 2:47 a.m. I had soil data that made no sense, and I didn't have the energy for whatever this was. I blocked the number. The confirmation popped up. You will no longer receive calls or messages from this number. Good. Problem solved. I went back to my spreadsheet, to the numbers that refused to cooperate, to the data that suggested something fundamentally wrong was happening to the Earth's chemistry in ways I couldn't quantify. My cursor blinked at me, patient and judging. Outside my apartment window, Oakland sprawled in its 3 a.m. glory streetlights, making orange pools on empty sidewalks. The distant sound of a car alarm that had been going for 3 days straight. Someone's bass thumping through walls, because apparently noise ordinances were just suggestions. Normal. Everything was normal. I deleted the text message, watched it disappear into the digital void, and tried to focus on work. 38 hours. I didn't set a timer. Didn't mark it on my calendar. Didn't think about it at all, actually. Because, why would I? Earthquake predictions via spam text weren't exactly scientific methodology. California got tremors all the time. Eventually, someone predicting earthquakes would hit one just by statistical probability. Broken clock, twice a day, all that. I worked until 4 a.m., achieved nothing useful, and finally passed out on my couch with my laptop slowly cooking my thighs. 9 days before the outbreak Tuesday, I woke up at 11 a.m., which is what happens when you work from home, and your boss is in New York and doesn't start checking emails until you are 3 hours into your day anyway. Flexible schedule, they called it. Depression hours. I called it. But hey, at least I could work in my underwear. Coffee first priority. Always the first priority. I stumbled to the kitchen, started the pour-over process that I had convinced myself made better coffee than a regular machine, even though it definitely didn't, and I was just adding unnecessary steps to my morning. But the ritual was the point. Grind the beans, hear that satisfying mechanical crunch, smell the bitter-sweet aroma, pour the water in slow circles like I am performing some kind of caffeinated baptism. My phone sat on the counter, silent and judgmental. I had forgotten about the text completely. Had other things to worry about, like the fact that my data suggested Sacramento's agricultural soil was experiencing contamination patterns I couldn't explain. And my boss wanted a report by Friday, and I had approximately 0 conclusions to report. The coffee finished. I poured it into my favorite mug, the one that said I am not arguing. I am just explaining why I am right, that my ex-girlfriend had given me as a joke, before she became my ex. The mug had outlasted the relationship by 4 years, which said something about the quality of the mug and the quality of the relationship. I spent the day the way I spent most days, staring at data, making graphs that didn't explain anything, eating lunch at my desk leftover pad thai from 2 days ago that had definitely crossed the line from still good to probably fine, and generally existing in that liminal space between productive and wasting my life. Around 8 p.m., I ordered dinner. Thai again, because I would apparently decided that pad thai was just my food now. My signature dish, my culinary identity. The delivery guy, same guy as always. We had developed this weird, unspoken friendship where we nodded at each other, but never spoke. Handed me the bag through my doorway. Earthquake weather, he said, breaking our established silence protocol. I looked at him, confused. What? Earthquake weather. It is too still, too quiet. My grandma always said you can feel it before it happens. That is not a real thing, he shrugged. Tell that to my grandma. He left. I stood there with my pad thai, thinking about earthquake predictions and grandmothers, and the fact that people believed all kinds of shit that wasn't scientifically valid, and sometimes they were right. Anyway, I ate dinner, watched Netflix, fell asleep around midnight. Normal. Everything was normal, 8 days before. Wednesday, 8:47 p.m. I was reheating the pad thai, because apparently I had ordered enough for 3 days, and was committed to finishing it when my apartment decided to become an amusement park ride. It started small, a rattle, the dishes in the cabinet doing a little dance, glass clinking against glass in a way that made me look up from my phone. Then the rattle became a shake. Then the shake became what I can only describe as the earth saying, "Fuck you," specifically Holden Beck. The bowl flew out of my hand, just launched itself like it had achieved consciousness and chosen violence. It exploded against the kitchen floor in a spray of ceramic shards and 3-day-old noodles. The microwave door swung open mid-cycle, still humming its electronic song, because apparently appliances didn't care about earthquakes. My bookshelf, the one I had bought from IKEA and assembled drunk, the one that had always been slightly crooked, but I had convinced myself it was fine, gave up on standing, just said nah, and fell forward. Books cascading like a literary avalanche. My laptop slid off the coffee table. The television did this weird shimmy dance on its stand. The lights flickered, went out, came back on, went out again. I stood in my kitchen doorway. They always say stand in doorways during earthquakes, though I am pretty sure that is outdated advice from before modern building codes, and watched my apartment have a seizure. The whole thing lasted maybe 45 seconds. Felt like hours. Time does weird shit when the ground decides to be liquid. Then it stopped. Just stopped. The silence after an earthquake is distinctive. It is not regular silence. It is the silence of everyone simultaneously holding their breath, waiting to see if the earth is done being an asshole, or if this is just intermission. I stood there, breathing hard, feeling my heart do its best impression of a jackhammer. Then the car alarm started. Every single car on my street, all at once, screaming their electronic panic into the night. Someone's house alarm joined in. A dog barked. Someone yelled what the fuck loud enough to hear through walls. My phone buzzed. I almost didn't look at it. Was too busy processing the fact that I had just experienced my first major earthquake. I had felt tremors before. Little ones. The kind that make you wonder if a truck just drove by or if the earth moved. But this was different. This was the earth saying, I am a dynamic geological system, and you are just visiting. But the buzz was persistent, angry almost. I picked up my phone. Emergency alert. Earthquake warning. 6.2 magnitude. Epicenter. Daly City. More information to follow. Below that, a text from an unblocked number. Wait. I scrolled up. The number looked familiar. I checked my blocked contacts. It was the same number from last night. I had unblocked it without realizing, probably during some absent-minded phone cleaning. Or maybe number I definitely blocked it. I remembered blocking it, watched the confirmation message, and everything. 10 days ago, 2:47 a.m. 38 hours from now. Looked at the current time. 8 days ago, 8:47 p.m. Exactly 38 hours. My brain did this thing where it tried to rationalize. Coincidence had to be. Lucky guess. Statistical probability. Someone somewhere is always predicting earthquakes, and eventually one hits, and my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Chemical plant explosion. Port Arthur, Texas. Tomorrow. 6:15 p.m. Central Time. 3 fatalities. You will want to watch the news. I sat down on my couch, hard, surrounded by fallen books and broken ceramic, and the ruins of my dinner. This was not happening. This was spam. Scam. Some kind of elaborate phishing thing where they predict one thing. Get lucky, then hook you with the second prediction. And except the earthquake had been exact. The magnitude, the location, the timing. Nobody gets that lucky. I sat there for 10 minutes, just breathing, listening to car alarms slowly wind down, feeling the aftershocks that came in little waves, reminders that the earth was still awake, still paying attention. I should have called someone, the police, FBI. Who do you call when someone texts you accurate disaster predictions? Is there a hotline for that? But what would I say? Hi, yes. Someone predicted an earthquake via text. And now they are predicting an industrial accident in Texas. Please help? They would file me under crazy and move on. I looked at the message again. Port Arthur, Texas, tomorrow. 6:15 p.m. Central. I pulled up Google Maps, found Port Arthur. Tiny city on the Gulf Coast. Lots of chemical plants and refineries. The whole area was basically industrial accident waiting to happen. Texas edition. Maybe that was it. Maybe whoever this was knew something. Inside information. Not prediction. Just advanced knowledge. Someone working at the plant. Whistleblowing through cryptic texts for some reason. That made more sense than psychic powers. I spent the next hour cleaning up my apartment, sweeping ceramic shards, reshelving books, trying not to think about the text message and absolutely thinking about the text message. At 11 p.m., I gave up on productivity and went to bed. I didn't sleep, just lay there, phone on the nightstand, waiting for 6 to 15 p.m. Central Time tomorrow, which was 4 to 15 p.m. my time, and trying to decide if I was going to watch the news, like the text suggested, or if I was going to ignore this completely and pretend it wasn't happening. Spoiler, I was absolutely going to watch the news. 7 days before. Thursday, 4:14 p.m. I had spent the day pretending to work while actually refreshing news sites every 5 minutes. Port Arthur, Texas. Nothing. Just regular Texas news, local politics, high school football, someone's barbecue restaurant winning an award. Normal stuff. I told myself I was being paranoid, that yesterday's earthquake was coincidence, that today would pass without incident, and I would realize I had been worked up over nothing, and I would block that number again properly this time and move on with my life. Just weird spam, lucky guess. My anxiety making mountains out of 4:47 p.m. CNN breaking news alert. Breaking explosion at chemical plant in Port Arthur, Texas. Multiple casualties reported. My stomach dropped. I clicked through. The article was sparse, just breaking, minimal details, mostly speculation. But the timestamp on the first report, 6:15 p.m. Central Time. I refreshed obsessively. Reuters picked it up, AP News. Local Texas stations. The story filled in over the next hour. Chemical plant explosion. Equipment malfunction. 3 dead. 7 injured. 3 fatalities. Exactly 3. I sat at my desk, laptop open, news playing on my television, phone in my hand, feeling something cold settle into my chest. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't lucky guessing. This was something else. The phone buzzed. Unknown number. Now do I have your attention? I stared at the message for a solid minute, trying to decide how to respond. What do you say to someone who can apparently predict disasters? What is the etiquette here? Me. Who is this? The response came immediately, like they had been waiting. Unknown number. Someone trying to save your life. Check your email. We need to talk. I opened my email, refreshed. Nothing. Refreshed again. Still nothing. Was about to refresh a third time when it appeared, like it had been waiting for me to prove I was paying attention, from RK subject, We need to talk, no body text. Just an attachment, encrypted PDF. I stared at it. Every cybersecurity training I had ever ignored screamed at me not to open it. Random encrypted PDF from unknown sender? That is how you get ransomware. That is how you end up explaining to it why all the company files are now locked and demanding Bitcoin. But they had predicted an earthquake, predicted an industrial accident. If this was a scam, it was the most elaborate one I had ever seen. I downloaded the file. It asked for a password. I sat there, stumped. How was I supposed to know that my phone buzzed? Unknown number. Password is Jamie's birthday. Rare autoimmune disease. The kind where your body decides to attack itself for no good reason. Where medical science just shrugs and says, sorry, we don't know why this happens. He was 23. I was 24. We had only been foster siblings for 3 years when we were kids. But he was the closest thing to family I had ever had. His birthday, the 17th of March, St. Patrick's Day baby. He used to joke that God made him Irish just to fuck with his Japanese mom. I typed in, 31,796. The PDF opened. Single-page handwritten scan. The handwriting was familiar in a way that made my chest tight. Holden. I know you blocked me after Jamie died. I know you are probably reading this, thinking I am insane, or running some kind of elaborate con, or both. I don't blame you for any of it. The earthquake wasn't a guess. Neither was Port Arthur. I can see what is coming, not metaphorically, literally. I can see forward. It is not a gift. It is a curse, and it is killing me. But that doesn't matter. What matters is what I saw coming. What is about to happen? Day 0 is in 2 days. The 23rd of December. Christmas gifts no one asked for. It starts in Atlanta CDC facility breach. Biological outbreak. Zombie infection, for lack of a better term. Real night of the living dead shit, except slower and sadder. It spreads fast. Within 24 hours, major cities are chaos. Within a week, society is functionally over. Power grids fail. Supply chains collapse. Government cannot contain it. Military tries and fails. Most people die in the first month. But that is not even the worst part. There is something else coming. Secondary threat. I didn't see it clearly, my visions have limits. But it is bad. Worse than the dead. Something about the air itself. I have looked at thousands of futures. Thousands of ways this plays out. In most of them, you die in the first week. In some, you make it a month. A few, you survive longer. I am going to give you the best chance I can. But you have to trust me. You have to prepare. You have to do exactly what I say. Don't tell anyone. Don't try to warn people. Don't be the guy screaming about the end times. Just quietly prepare. Stockpile supplies. Fortify your apartment. Get weapons. You have 2 days. I know you hate me. I know you think I killed Jamie by not helping him. You are not wrong. I worked for the company that could have saved him, and I chose corporate policy over his life. I chose my career over your family. I cannot fix that. Cannot bring him back. Cannot undo what I did, but I can do this. I can try to save you. Actually shaking. Like I was cold. Except I wasn't cold. I was just Rowan. My college roommate. My best friend for 4 years. The guy who had helped me pass organic chemistry. Who had introduced me to good coffee. Who had stayed up until 3 a.m. helping me write my thesis. Who had been there for every bad day and panic attack and moment of foster kid trauma I had ever had. The guy who had worked for Helix Biosolutions when Jamie got sick. The guy who had said, I am sorry. I tried. But company policy will not allow compassionate use for experimental treatments. The guy I had screamed at, told him he cared more about his paycheck than people's lives. Told him I never wanted to see him again. The guy who had sent me one email after Jamie's funeral, I am sorry. I quit. They are not who I thought they were that I had deleted without reading fully. The guy I hadn't spoken to in 8 years, and now he was texting me about the end of the world. I read the email 3 more times. Zombie outbreak. CDC breach. Society collapse. 2 days. This was insane. This was paranoid doomsday prepper bullshit. This was the kind of thing you saw in forums, where people stockpile guns and talk about government conspiracies. And except Rowan had predicted an earthquake. Exactly. Magnitude, location, timing. Except he had predicted a chemical plant explosion. Exactly. Location, casualties, timing. Except he knew about Jamie, knew about the argument. Knew things only Rowan would know. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I know you are freaking out. I know this sounds crazy, but I need you to trust me. One more prediction. Then you will believe unknown number. Flight 2847, Dallas to Phoenix. Tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Mechanical failure. Emergency landing in Albuquerque. Hydraulic system failure. Loss of left engine. But the pilot is good former Air Force, knows how to dead stick it in. 0 fatalities. Everyone walks away. It will be all over the news. Unknown number. Watch it happen. Then start preparing. Unknown number, please. Holden. Then decide. I sat at my desk until midnight, staring at the email, the messages, the predictions. Thinking about Rowan, about Jamie, about 8 years of silence and anger, about how Rowan had always been the smartest person I knew. Brilliant. Biochemistry genius. The kind of person who saw patterns where other people saw noise. About how he would also been naive. Trusted his company, believed in the system. Got crushed when he realized what they really were. About how, despite everything, despite the anger and the hurt and the 8 years of pretending he didn't exist, I had never known Rowan to lie. Not once. Not even when it would have been easier. I opened my laptop, started a new document, titled it, End of World Prep, just in case. Then I started making a list, 6 days before, Flight 2847 Friday, 2:28 p.m. I was watching a live news feed of Flight 2847 taxiing on the tarmac at Dallas-Fort Worth. This was insane. This was me being insane, sitting at my desk at 2:28 in the afternoon, refreshing FlightAware every 10 seconds, watching a random commercial flight just to see if it would crash. Except it wasn't going to crash. According to Rowan, if that was really Rowan, and part of me still wanted to believe, it wasn't the plane would experience mechanical failure, but land safely in Albuquerque, 0 fatalities. The flight tracker showed 2847 in the air. Now on time, normal cruising altitude. Everything nominal. 2:30 p.m. came and went. Nothing. I refreshed. Still flying normal. 2:31 p.m. Still nothing. See, nothing was going to my phone exploded with notifications. CNN breaking news. Commercial flight experiencing mechanical emergency. MSNBC Flight 2847 Dallas to Phoenix reports engine failure. Fox News alert. Emergency landing in progress Albuquerque. I clicked through to the CNN live feed. The news anchor's face had that specific expression of controlled panic they teach in journalism school. This is serious, but I am not allowed to freak out look. Just receiving reports that flight Downtown Babay Sishitsi, an Airbus A-Fa Arsha traveling from Dallas-Fort Worth to Phoenix, has reported hydraulic failure and loss of its left engine. The pilot has declared an emergency and is diverting to Albuquerque International. We are going to go live to the feed cut to helicopter footage of the runway. Emergency vehicles lined up, fire trucks, ambulances, the full disaster response. Then the plane appeared, coming in low and fast, too fast. It looked too fast, gear down. Wings wobbling slightly. The pilot brought it in. Rough landing, you could see it bounce once, hard but down. On the runway, intact. Emergency vehicles swarmed it immediately. Foam spraying, doors opening, slides deploying. People poured out, running down the emergency slides, some stumbling, some helping others. But everyone moving, everyone alive. The news anchor's voice nearly breathless. Remarkable display of piloting skill. Appears everyone is evacuating, no visible injuries at this time. I sat there watching people run across the tarmac to safety, feeling my hands shake. 0 fatalities. Exactly as predicted. 3 predictions. 3 perfect hits. My phone buzzed. Unknown number, believe me now. I typed with shaking hands. Me, this isn't possible. What are you? How are you doing this? Unknown number. Does it matter? You believe the predictions are real. That is what matters. Me, are you really Rowan? Or is someone using his name? The response took longer this time, like he was choosing words carefully. Unknown number, I am what is left of Rowan. The part that remembers you. The part that needs to fix what I broke. Unknown number, you have 1 day. 1 day to prepare before everything ends. I am sending you a list. Follow it exactly. Buy everything on it. Don't question the items. Don't skip anything. Your life depends on this. A minute later, my email dinged. Attachment. Supplies. PDF. I opened it. The list was 15 pages long. Emergency supplies. Do not deviate food 90-day supply minimum. Rice 50 pounds. Dried beans 40 pounds. Mixed varieties for nutritional variety. Canned vegetables 200 plus cans. Include variety. Focus on nutrient densities. Canned protein 100 plus cans. Tuna, chicken, spam, sardines. Protein bars 500 high calorie density. Peanut butter 12 jars. Protein and calories honey 4 large jars. Never spoils. Energy source salt 5 pounds. Preservation and electrolytes. Multivitamins 3 bottles. Scurvy is real. Cooking oil 2 gallons. Calories and cooking water. Absolute critical. Bottled water. 100 gallons minimum. More is better. Water purification tablets. 500 tablets minimum. Portable water filter. Life-a-straw or equivalent. Large water containers for storage. 5 times 5 gallon. Bleach for water purification. 2 gallons unscented only medical. You will get hurt. First aid kit, comprehensive trauma kit, not band-aid kit. Antibiotics, if you can get them. Fish antibiotics work, don't ask. Pain medication, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, aspirin, lots of each, gauze and bandages, more than you think you need. Medical tape, several rolls. Tourniquets, 2 minimum. Arterial bleeding kills fasts. Suture kit, yes. Really, hydrogen peroxide, wound cleaning alcohol wipes, hundreds of them, tweezers and scissors, medical grade, thermometer. Any prescription medications, 3-month supply if possible. Fortification, 2 times 4 lumber, 20 pieces minimum. Plywood sheets, 10 minimum. 3/4 inch thick, nails and screws. Multiple pounds, various sizes. Hammer and manual screwdriver. Power tools fail without electricity. Duct tape 12 rolls minimum. Duct tape fixes everything. Rope 300 feet minimum. Various diameters tarp. 4 large, heavy-duty trash bags. 200 count, multiple uses, power phalite. No electricity coming. Flashlights, 6 minimum. Different sizes, batteries, every size, hundreds of them. Hand crank emergency radio battery backup will not last. Candles, 50 minimum. Matches and lighters. Waterproof matches, multiple lighters, propane camp stove with fuel. 30 plus days of cooking. Solar charger for phone, small electronics. May remain useful tools. Multi-tool, Leatherman quality, fixed blade knife, fighting knife, not camping knife, hatchet, crowbar, shovel, entrenching tool type. Can opener manual, have backup sewing kit, repairs and sutures, if desperate defense. You will need these. Firearm 9mm handgun, recommended for ammunition availability. Ammunition, 500 rounds minimum. Gun cleaning kit, lockable gun safe, baseball bat backup weapon, no ammo required. Pepper spray, non-lethal option. Hygiene, disease kills faster than monsters. Soap 20 bars minimum. Toothpaste and toothbrushes, dental infection can kill. Toilet paper 100 plus rolls. Feminine hygiene products. Even if you don't need them, someone will. Bleach, cleaning and water purification. Hand sanitizer, 5 large bottles. Garbage bags hundreds. Waste management critical miscellaneous critical. Work gloves, multiple pairs, warm clothing. Layering system rain gear waterproof. Sleeping bag. Cold nights coming. Blankets, wool preferred. Works when wet. Book sanity maintenance. Notebook and pens. Record keeping. Map of area. Physical. Not phone. Compass. Whistle signal device. Mirror signaling and morale procurement strategy. Split purchases across multiple stores. Avoid suspicion. Use cash when possible. Avoid transaction records. Spread purchases over 2 days. Don't clean out one store. Act normal. You are stocking up for winter storms or camping trip. Do not tell anyone what you are preparing for. Do not try to warn other people. Do not post about this on social media. Trust no one except this list. Final note. This seems paranoid. It is paranoid. Paranoid is what keeps you alive. Follow every item. Trust me. I read it through twice. This was crazy. This was stockpiling for doomsday. Building a bunker, tinfoil hat crazy. This was also extremely detailed, well organized, and written by someone who would clearly thought through every aspect of survival. I looked at my bank account. Did some rough math. This would cost me about $3,000 if I was smart about it. Maybe $4,000 if I panic bought expensive versions. I had $8,000 in savings. Money I had been keeping for emergencies. If Rowan was right, this was the emergency. If he was wrong, well, I would have enough supplies to survive a really aggressive camping trip. Because if you are stockpiling for the apocalypse, you might as well buy in bulk. The place was its usual chaotic Friday afternoon, families loading up on groceries for the weekend. Kids running between aisles. Employees giving out samples of food. Nobody asked for, but everyone took anyway. I grabbed a cart. Walked past the electronics, past the clothing, straight to the food section. Started loading. Rice in the 50-pound bags, beans, canned vegetables. I grabbed cartfuls, mixing varieties like Rowan's list specified. The cart filled fast. A woman in her 60s, loading her own cart nearby, glanced at mine, having a party. She asked, friendly, small-talk voice? Stocking up for winter, I said, keeping my tone casual. Weather service says big storms coming. Oh, where would you hear that? Just, checking the forecast. Better safe than sorry. She nodded, satisfied, went back to her shopping. The checkout clerk, college age, looked bored out of his mind, scanned items with mechanical efficiency. Damn, you really stocking up, he said, not really asking. Have fun with that. Total, $1,847.32. I loaded everything into my car, a Honda Civic, that was definitely not designed to carry this much weight, and made my first trip home. Unloaded in record time, stacking supplies in my living room since I didn't have a better system yet. Checked my list. Still had medical supplies, fortification materials, tools, and weapons to get. Weapons right. 6 days before. The gun store. I had never been in a gun store before. The place was called Patriot Defense, and had the kind of vibe that suggested the owner had strong opinions about the Second Amendment and weaker opinions about interior decorating, American flags everywhere. A "Don't Tread on Me" poster. Another poster showing various AR-15 configurations, like it was a car catalog. Behind the counter, a guy in his 50s with a beard that had achieved its own ecosystem looked up as I entered. Help you? I need a handgun, I said, trying to sound like I knew what I was doing. 9mm, something reliable. That obvious. You got the look. Come here. He gestured me over, pulled out a Glock 19 from the display case. This is what you want. 9mm, reliable, easy to maintain. Ammunitions everywhere. 15-round magazine, most popular handgun in America for a reason. He walked me through it. How to hold it. How to check if it is loaded. How to engage the safety. How to field strip it for cleaning. His hands moved with practiced efficiency. Decades of muscle memory. You taking a safety course? He asked, planning to. I thought about Rowan's list. About zombie outbreaks and society collapse. Yes, and ammunition. 500 rounds. His eyebrows went up slightly. 500? I like to practice. he shrugged. Your money, let me ring you up. Need to run a background check. 10-day waiting period in California. Just rather have it now. He looked at me for a long moment, then leaned in slightly, voice lower. You expecting trouble? No, just because if you are expecting trouble, maybe you should call the police. That is what they are for. I am not expecting trouble. I just want to be prepared. Another long look. Then he straightened up, voice back to normal volume. 10-day waiting period. No exceptions. I can process your paperwork now, you pick up next week. He pulled out forms. Let's get started. I filled out the forms, knowing they would be useless. If Rowan was right, in 10 days, the gun store would be looted, and this paperwork would be lining some bird's nest. But I went through the motions anyway. As I was leaving, the store owner called out. Hey kid, I turned. Whatever you are worried about, it is probably not as bad as you think. Get some sleep. Things always look better in the morning. I nodded, left, and immediately drove to Home Depot. 6 days before fortification, evening Home Depot on a Friday evening is populated entirely by people who started weekend projects with confidence and are now desperately buying supplies to fix what they broke. I didn't fit that demographic. I fit the building a fortress demographic, which isn't technically a customer segment but probably should be. Lumber, plywood, nails, screws. I loaded a cart, then another cart. An employee in the orange apron watched me with increasing concern. Building something, he asked. Reinforcing my basement, I said. Flooding issues. You need this much wood for flood protection? It is a big basement. He looked skeptical but shrugged. Not his problem. I added duct tape 12 rolls. Rowan had specified, and he was right, that duct tape fixed everything. Rope, tarps, trash bags by the hundreds, total $847.29. My car couldn't fit it all. I paid extra for delivery, gave them my address, told them tomorrow morning was fine. Checked the time, 7:43 p.m., 1 day left. I still needed medical supplies. More food, batteries, about 1,000 other things. I made a decision, all-nighter, hit every store I could think of. Split purchases to avoid looking suspicious. Get everything on Rowan's list, no matter how long it took. 5 to 3 days before. The preparation montage, I am not going to lie to you, the next 3 days were a blur of shopping, carrying, organizing, and trying not to think too hard about what I was doing. Saturday morning, the Home Depot delivery arrived. I tipped the guy $20 to help me carry everything upstairs, then spent 6 hours reinforcing my apartment like I was preparing for a siege. Boarded the windows, not completely. Left gaps to see outside, but enough to make breaking in a serious effort. Reinforced the door with extra lumber. Added another deadbolt I bought specifically for this. Created a kind of airlock system in my entryway with plywood barriers. It looked insane. It looked like a paranoid person's fortress. It looked exactly like what it was. Sunday, more shopping. Medical supplies from 3 different pharmacies, splitting purchases. So nobody got suspicious about the guy buying every box of gauze and pain medication. Batteries from 2 different stores. Candles from a craft store where the cashier was clearly high and didn't care that I bought 47 candles party. She asked, words slightly slurred. Birthday, I said. Must be a big birthday. It is a milestone year. She nodded sagely. Like this explained everything. Monday, final day. I went full survivalist mode. Bought the hand crank radio from Rady, where the employee was enthusiastically helpful because she thought I was planning a backcountry hiking trip and wanted to share her own stories about hiking the Pacific Crest Trail. I listened, nodded at appropriate moments, and left with the radio plus a portable water filter she recommended. Bought the camp stove and propane from a sporting goods store. The clerk, younger guy, maybe early 20s, was more interested in his phone than my purchase. You going camping? He asked, not looking up. Yeah, cool. That was the entire conversation. By Monday evening, my apartment looked like a prepper's wet dream. Supplies stacked everywhere. Food organized in bins, water jugs lined up along every wall, Medical kit assembled and prominently placed, tools accessible. The whole space had transformed from sad bachelor lives here to sad bachelor prepares for apocalypse here. I stood in the middle of it all, surrounded by preparations for a disaster. I wasn't sure what happened, and thought about calling someone. My boss, maybe. Hey, I will not be coming in tomorrow because the zombie apocalypse starts, and I need to be home to lock down. Or my ex. Remember how you said I never planned ahead? Well, joke's on you. I have planned for the end of civilization. Or my mom, except I didn't have a mom. Foster system kid, aged out at 18. Never got adopted. No family to call. No emergency contacts except Jamie. And he was dead. Just me. Alone in my fortress. Preparing for something that sounded insane. My phone buzzed. Rowan, tomorrow morning. It begins. Lock your door. Don't open it for anyone. Not even people you know. Trust no one. The infected spread fast. Most people will not believe it is happening until it is too late. Rowan, you are going to hear screaming. You are going to hear people begging for help. You cannot help them. If you open that door, you die. Do you understand? You are sure. Me. This is really happening. I am sorry, Holden. I am sorry I couldn't stop it. All I can do is try to save you. Me, where are you? Are you safe? The response took a long time. When it came, it was short. Rowan, I am where I need to be. Stay alive. That is all I ask. Just stay alive. I wanted to ask more. Wanted to demand answers about how he knew, what he had seen, why he was doing this. But it was 11 p.m. on Monday, the 22nd of December, and in approximately 10 hours, if Rowan was right, the world would end. I locked my door, all 3 locks, including the new deadbolt, checked my supplies one last time, set my phone on the coffee table, volume on high, and waited. Outbreak day, the outbreak morning, Tuesday, the 23rd of December, 9:47 a.m. I woke up on my couch, neck kinked from sleeping, sitting up, drooling slightly on the cushion. My phone was quiet. No news alerts, no messages from Rowan, cars driving by, someone's dog barking, a truck backing up with that annoying beeping sound. CNN showed regular programming, some political scandal, stock market updates, a feel-good story about a kid who saved a puppy. No outbreak, no CDC breach, no zombie apocalypse. I felt that specific combination of relief and embarrassment that comes from preparing for something that didn't happen. Like showing up to a party a week early, or studying for a test that got postponed. I had spent $3,000 and 3 days preparing for the end of the world, and the world had inconveniently decided to keep existing. I lay back down on the couch, staring at my fortified apartment, thinking about how I was going to explain this to my landlord, when my phone buzzed. Emergency alert. Shelter-in-place order. Atlanta metro area. Biological contamination event. Avoid contact with others. More information to follow. I sat up. Opened CNN. Breaking news. CDC facility breach in Atlanta. Biological agent released. Multiple casualties. The news anchor looked shaken. Not the controlled news anchor composure. Actually shaken. Still receiving information, but we can confirm a major breach at the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta. Early reports suggest some kind of biological contamination. Authorities are urging residents to shelter in place. We are going to go now to our correspondent on the ground. The feed cut to a reporter standing outside what looked like the CDC facility. Behind her, chaos, emergency vehicles, people running, someone in a hazmat suit spraying something. Situation is still developing, but what we know is that approximately 2 hours ago, there was some kind of incident inside the facility. Initial reports suggested an accident, but sources are now telling us there may have been a breach of containment. We are seeing casualties. We are seeing... She stopped mid-sentence, looking off camera. Her expression changed. Oh my God, the camera swung, following her gaze. Someone was walking, no shambling across the parking lot. Moving wrong, too stiff, too purposeful. Their clothes were torn, visible injuries on their arms and face. They lunged at a security guard. The guard went down. The reporter screamed. The camera fell, showed concrete, then cut out entirely. CNN went to the studio. The anchor was pale. We have lost connection with our reporter. We are trying to re-establish. My phone exploded with alerts. Every news organization simultaneously, all saying the same thing. Outbreak, Atlanta, spreading, unknown biological agent, casualties, chaos. I sat there, watching my phone light up like a Christmas tree of disaster notifications, feeling my stomach drop into my shoes. Rowan had been right. All of it. Everything. The world was ending, and I had spent 3 days preparing for exactly this moment, and somehow I still wasn't ready. My phone buzzed. Text from Rowan. Rowan, lock the door. Stay inside. Don't open it. No matter what happens, I will contact you when I can. Stay alive. I stood up, walked to my door, checked all 3 locks. Secure. I was secure. The world outside was falling apart. But in here, in my fortress of paranoia and preparation, I was secure. For now, outbreak day, the collapse, afternoon to evening. By noon, Atlanta was gone. Not literally gone. The city was still there, buildings still standing, but functionally. Societally, it was over. Smoke rising from multiple fires. And everywhere, those shambling figures moving with that distinctive wrong gait of the infected. The president came on at 1 p.m. He looked like he had aged 20 years since his last press conference. Fellow Americans, he began, and you could hear the exhaustion in his voice. I am declaring a state of national emergency. The biological incident in Atlanta has spread to surrounding areas faster than our initial containment protocols anticipated. I am authorizing the deployment of National Guard units to affected cities and urging all citizens to shelter in place. Avoid contact with others, and his voice cracked slightly. And may God be with us all. That is when I knew it was really over. When the President of the United States basically says good luck, you are on your own. You know the government has lost control. By 3 p.m., 6 states had confirmed outbreaks. By 5 p.m., 12. The maps showed red zones spreading like spilled wine across the country: Atlanta, Charlotte, Nashville, Birmingham, Jackson, Memphis. Each city a new epicenter of infection. The news anchors stopped trying to maintain composure. They just reported facts, voices flat, occasionally looking off camera like they were checking if their escape route was still clear. Chicago is now reporting cases. Los Angeles has issued a shelter-in-place. Military convoys are being deployed. But we are getting reports from New York that my neighborhood in Oakland started getting loud around 7 p.m. First, sirens, police, fire, ambulance, all the emergency vehicles wailing past my building in a constant stream. Then car alarms, then shouting, screaming, gunshots, distant at first, then closer. I stood at my window gap, watching what I could see of my street. Mrs. Kowalski from 2B ran past, carrying 2 suitcases, wearing pajamas and snow boots, even though it was California and there was no snow. She was crying. Tommy Chen, no, wait. Tommy Parker from 4A, the college kid, who played guitar too loud, sprinted by in the opposite direction. No bags, just running. A car peeled out, tires screaming, nearly hit someone crossing the street. Everyone had the same look. Pure panic. The realization that this was real, this was happening, and they had waited too long to prepare. My phone rang. Actual call, not text. I looked at the screen. Aiden Rodriguez, co-worker. I let it ring. Rowan had said, "Don't tell anyone, trust no one." And Aiden was nice enough, but we weren't friends. We were work acquaintances who occasionally got lunch in the break room. The call went to voicemail. He called again immediately. I ignored it again. He texted, "Holden dude, are you seeing this shit? I am freaking out. Can I come over? I don't know what to do." I stared at the text for a long time. Then I thought about Rowan's warning. Don't open the door for anyone. Me, stay where you are. Lock your doors. Don't go outside, Aiden. but I don't have any food. I was going to go shopping tomorrow. Can I borrow some stuff? I will pay you back. Me, sorry man. I cannot help. Aiden, seriously? Come on. We work together, I just need a little. I turned my phone face down. Couldn't read his messages if I couldn't see the screen. I was a coward. I knew it. Aiden was probably going to die because he hadn't prepared. And I had prepared. And I wasn't going to help him, because helping him might get me killed. That is what survival looked like. It looked like abandoning people. Like choosing yourself over others. It felt like shit. Around 8 p.m., someone pounded on my door. Holden Beck. I know you are in there, Marcus. My neighbor from 3B, the guy with the wife and kid. The one who had loaded his truck days ago, should have been long gone by now. Please, man. Our truck broke down. We couldn't leave. We are stuck here. Just let us in. We can ride this out together. We have supplies. We can share. I stood perfectly still in my living room, barely breathing. Holden, please. Sarah's terrified. Emma's crying. We just need somewhere safe, please. His voice cracked on the please. I thought about his daughter, Emma. Maybe 7 years old. Always said hi to me in the hallway with that gap-toothed smile kids have. I thought about opening the door, about letting them in, about being a decent human being. Then I thought about Rowan's warning. The infected spread fast. Trust no one. If you open that door, you die. I stayed silent. Marcus pounded harder. Holden, I can hear you in there. Don't do this. Don't be that person. We are your neighbors. More pounding. Desperate now. Then Sarah's voice, high-pitched with terror. Marcus, there is someone coming up the stairs. Marcus, shit. Shit. Marcus's voice, moving away from my door. Get back, Emma. Get behind me, a wet, gurgling sound. Sarah screamed. Emma screamed. The screaming cut off suddenly, too suddenly, then silence. Then sounds I didn't want to identify, but couldn't help identifying. Wet sounds, tearing sounds. I stood in my fortress, safe behind my reinforced door and my 3 locks, listening to my neighbors die, maybe 15 feet away, doing nothing, staying alive. I know the exact time because I was watching the clock, counting down seconds, waiting for midnight. Like maybe when the day changed everything would reset, and this would all be a bad dream. Instead, the lights just stopped. The television went black mid-sentence. The refrigerator's hum died. Every electronic device in my apartment shut down simultaneously. The only light came from the emergency candles I had set up earlier, casting long shadows across my fortified living room. Outside, the city went dark except for fires. Orange glows in the distance, car headlights here and there. Flashlight beams cutting through darkness, and the sounds, constant sounds, screaming, gunfire, car alarms, breaking glass, the soundtrack of civilization collapse. My phone buzzed battery at 73%. Thank God for those backup chargers. Rowan, power's gone. It is only going to get worse. Stay inside. Don't use lights at night. It attracts attention. Ration your food carefully. The next few weeks will be critical. Rowan, I am sorry I couldn't stop this. Sorry, I couldn't save more people. All I could do was save you, me. Where are you? Are you safe? Rowan, as safe as anyone can be right now. Focus on staying alive. I will contact you when I can. Me, Rowan. I need to know, how did you know? How do you see the future? Long pause, thought he wasn't going to answer. Then, it cost everything. Every vision ages me, erases memories. I am not the person you remember anymore, Holden. I barely remember who I was, but I remember you. I remember Jamie. I remember failing you both. Rowan, this is me trying to fix it. Trying to do one good thing before I disappear completely. Rowan, stay alive. That is all I ask. Make it mean something. I wanted to respond. Wanted to tell him he didn't need to fix anything. That I forgave him. That Jamie's death wasn't his fault. But my phone buzzed with a low battery warning, 73%. wasn't as good as I had thought when using it constantly, and I needed to conserve power. I turned the phone off, Saturday in the candlelight, listened to Oakland tear itself apart, and waited for morning. Week 1 turns out the zombie apocalypse is boring as hell if you are prepared. Day 3, I established a routine. Wake up, check the windows, inventory supplies, eat 1 meal, drink water, read a book, sleep, repeat. The monotony was almost comforting. Humans are adaptable like that. Give us structure and we will cling to it even when the structure is survive. Another day in a dead world. The infected were different from the movies. Slower, more purposeful. They didn't run screaming. They shambled, following sound and movement with the single-minded determination of a drunk person looking for their phone at 2 a.m. I watched one spend 6 hours trying to open a car door. It never occurred to the thing to break the window. Just kept pulling on the locked handle over and over, until eventually it wandered off toward some other stimulus. Stupid, but patient, and there were a lot of them. The military broadcasts became less frequent. By day 5, they had stopped pretending they had control. The last coherent message I caught was a colonel from Fort Hunter Liggett, voice flat with exhaustion, explaining that civilian evacuation to safe zones was no longer viable due to atmospheric complications. Atmospheric complications. Great. Wonderfully specific. Day 7. I noticed I was breathing harder, like I had just climbed stairs, except I was sitting still. I attributed it to stress, maybe anxiety, definitely not enough exercise in my tiny fortified apartment. Day 8. The radio confirmed my fears. Oxygen depletion confirmed across Northern Hemisphere static. Project Chloros containment failure more static. Bioengineered algae consuming atmospheric oxygen at unprecedented rates. The signal cut completely. I sat there, holding the radio, thinking about how I had survived the zombie apocalypse just in time to suffocate. Rowan's warning. Something else. This was the something else. Week 2, by day 10. Breathing felt like sucking air through a coffee stirrer. The radio came back sporadically. Different stations, all saying the same thing. Oxygen was the new currency. Survivors were killing each other over oxygen masks and tanks. Hardware stores had been looted first, then hospitals, then anywhere that might have medical supplies. I had 1 mask. I had bought it for painting projects and never got around to painting anything. Now it sat on my kitchen counter, mocking me with its inadequacy. The infected didn't seem bothered by the oxygen thing. Of course they weren't. They didn't breathe. Not really, just another way the dead had the advantage over the living. Day 12. I made a decision. My supplies could last 90 days. The oxygen wouldn't. I needed to move while I still could, find the oxygen source, or die trying. The hospital was 6 blocks away. Before the outbreak, that was a pleasant walk. Now it might as well have been on the moon. I spent 2 days preparing, filled my backpack with water, food, the first aid kit, ammunition, strapped the baseball bat to my back, because guns make noise, and noise makes friends. The infected kind of friends. Day 14. Dawn, I unlocked my door for the first time in 2 weeks. The hallway smelled like death and garbage and broken dreams. Marcus's apartment door hung open. I didn't look inside. Some things you cannot unsee, and I had already seen enough. The street was worse. Cars everywhere. Some burned, some with bodies still inside. The infected wandered aimlessly, maybe a dozen visible from where I stood. They hadn't noticed me yet. I moved fast and quiet, keeping to shadows, avoiding open spaces. Made it 3 blocks before I had to stop, gasping, vision swimming. The mask helped, but not enough. I was running out of air and time. Block 4. I heard voices. Living voices. I ducked behind an overturned bus and watched 3 men emerge from a pharmacy. Arms loaded with supplies. They had oxygen tanks, military-grade respirators, guns, raiders, of course. I waited for them to leave. They didn't. Check that building, one said, pointing at the hospital. My destination, already hit it yesterday. another replied. Check it again. People hide shit. I couldn't wait them out. My oxygen was critical, so I made a choice that, in retrospect, was phenomenally stupid. I stepped out. Hey, I called. Hands visible. Bat left behind. I am not looking for trouble. Just need to get to the hospital. They turned. 3 guns pointed at my chest. Well, look what we got here, the first one said. He was tall, scarred, wearing a jacket that had probably been nice before the world ended. You lost, buddy? Just passing through in a pandemic and a zombie apocalypse? That is some bad luck, he smiled. His teeth were too white, too perfect. Give us your supplies and we will let you pass. I need them. So do we. He raised his gun slightly. Don't make this hard. I should have run. Should have fought. Should have done anything except what I did, which was freeze like a deer in headlights. The shot sounded impossibly loud. I looked down, expecting to see blood. Instead, I saw the leader clutching his leg, screaming. One of the other raiders had shot him accidentally, panicked by an infected that had shambled around the corner, attracted by our voices. In the chaos, I ran. Made it half a block before the second shot caught me. Not accidental. Not panicked. Deliberate. The bullet hit my shoulder, spun me around, knocked me into a storefront. I felt the impact before the pain like being punched by a freight train. Then, the pain caught up, and holy shit, getting shot hurts more than the movies suggest. I heard boots running. Hands grabbed my backpack, my mask, my supplies. I tried to fight, but my right arm wasn't working, and my vision was doing funny things. Thanks for the donation, someone said. Might have been the scarred guy, might have been God for all I knew at that point. Then they were gone. I lay there, bleeding, suffocating, thinking about how Jamie had died slowly, and now I had died the same way, and maybe there was some cosmic justice in that, or maybe the universe just had a shit sense of humor. My vision narrowed to a tunnel, then a pinpoint, then nothing. The transformation, I woke up breathing. This surprised me more than anything else, the waking up part. Not the breathing part, although the breathing part was pretty surprising too, given that I had been shot and abandoned without a mask in an oxygen-depleted atmosphere. I was lying on concrete. My shoulder hurt, like someone had replaced it with broken glass and regret. But I was breathing, easily. Like the air was normal again. I sat up slowly, inventory check. Shoulder was bandaged poorly, but bandaged. Not by me. Backpack gone. Mask gone. Gun gone. But I was alive and breathing, and neither of those things made sense. Then I noticed the plant. It was growing through a crack in the sidewalk, maybe 2 feet tall, with leaves that glowed a soft blue-green even in the dim morning light. Bioluminescent. Beautiful. Impossible. My blood was on it. On the leaves. The stem pooled around the roots where I would apparently collapse directly on top of it. I reached out, touched a leaf, felt something. A connection. Not physical, more like emotional awareness. The plant was healthy. Content growing. I stood up, testing the limits of my mobility. The shoulder screamed but held. I took a step away from the plant, then another. At about 10 steps, I felt it a tightening in my chest. Not pain, exactly. More like a warning. I took another step. The tightening became crushing. My vision spotted. I gasped, staggered, fell to my knees, crawled back to the plant. As soon as I was within range, maybe 10 meters, hard to judge the pressure released, I could breathe again. I sat there, staring at this impossible plant, processing what had just happened. Somehow, my blood had created a connection, a bond, a symbiosis. The plant was producing oxygen, a lot of it, enough to create a bubble of breathable air around itself, and somehow I was part of that bubble, tied to it. Couldn't leave it. I started laughing. Couldn't help it. The sound echoed off empty buildings, probably attracting every infected in a 5-block radius, but I couldn't stop. I had survived the zombie apocalypse, survived the oxygen crisis, survived getting shot and robbed, and now I was permanently attached to a houseplant. The universe definitely had a shit sense of humor. Adaptation first order of business: don't die from the gunshot wound. Second order of business: figure out how to carry a plant everywhere forever. I found a abandoned hardware store previously looted, but incompletely. People had grabbed the obvious stuff: tools, weapons, batteries. Nobody had taken the gardening supplies, because who the hell needs a trowel during the apocalypse? Me. I needed a trowel. I carefully dug up the plant, trying not to damage the roots, talking to it the whole time like a crazy person. Okay, buddy, we are going to relocate you. This is going to be weird for both of us, but I need you to work with me here. The plant didn't respond. Obviously, it was a plant, but I swear I felt something, a sense of cooperation, or maybe I was delirious from blood loss. I found a large ceramic pot, filled it with soil, transferred the plant as gently as possible. The whole time, my chest tightened and released in waves as I moved in and out of the safe zone. But I managed. You need a name, I told it, settling the pot onto a sturdy cart I had found. Cannot keep calling you the plant. That is impersonal. We are going to be spending a lot of time together. I looked at its glowing leaves, the way the light pulsed softly, like breathing. I decided. Short for chlorophyta, because you are a plant. And I am a nerd, and we are both stuck with each other. Glowed. Probably just the bioluminescence doing its thing. Definitely not responding to its new name. Definitely. I found a suburban house that hadn't been completely trashed. Family had evacuated. Left most of their stuff. I set up in the living room, in the center, me within the 10-meter radius. Day one of the new normal. Treated my shoulder. The bullet had gone through, which was lucky. Cleaned it, bandaged it properly. Took antibiotics from a kit I had scavenged. Felt like an idiot for not taking a first aid class before the apocalypse. Day 2, tested the radius precisely. 10 meters was the hard limit. At 9 meters, I was fine. At 10, warning signs, past 10, suffocation. The boundary was absolute. Day 3, realized needed sunlight. At least 6 hours daily, or the leaves started wilting. When wilted, my breathing got harder. Our health was linked. Day 4, built a better carrying system. Found a hiking backpack with a frame, modified it to hold Dot's pot securely. Tested it. Walked around the house. My back complained, but it worked. Day 5. Returned to my old apartment for supplies. Seeing it again felt surreal. All that preparation, all those boards and locks, rendered meaningless. But the supplies were still there. I loaded everything I could carry, on my back, and moved it to the new place. Day 6. First real test. An infected wandered into the yard. I froze. It shambled closer. 5 meters, 4 meters, 3. It stopped. Just stood there, swaying slightly, like it couldn't figure out where I was. Then it wandered off, the oxygen bubble. The infected tracked by sensing breathing, body heat, movement. But in Dot's oxygen-rich field, maybe I didn't register the same way. Camouflage by photosynthesis. I filed that information away under useful, if true, terrifying if I am wrong. Weeks 3 and 4, learning the rules living with was like having a pet and a medical device simultaneously. Every morning, I had set the pot in direct sunlight. I had cleared a space by the window, removed the boards. The infected weren't actively hunting anymore, just wandering, and the risk of sunlight exposure for outweighed the risk of being spotted. Needed water daily. Not too much, not too little. I learned the hard way that overwatering made my chest feel heavy. Underwatering made me lightheaded. Our biology had merged in ways I didn't understand, and probably couldn't understand without a PhD in xenobotany, or whatever the field was called for analyzing mutant apocalypse plants. I talked to constantly, not because I thought it helped the plant grow, though maybe it did. Who knows, but because talking to something, anything, was better than the silence. You know what I miss? I said one afternoon, watering carefully. Coffee shops. Not the coffee specifically. You can make coffee anywhere. But the vibe, sitting in a corner with a laptop, pretending to work while actually people watching. That girl who always ordered the most complicated drink possible. The guy who typed like he was angry at his keyboard. The barista who judged everyone's drink choices with their eyes, but never said anything. Dot glowed softly. Yeah, I miss that too. Week 4. I ventured out for supplies. The backpack system worked well. Secure. My hands free for scavenging and defense. I found a grocery store that had been picked over but not emptied. Canned goods, rice, beans, bottled water in the back storage room. I was loading my cart when I heard voices. Told you, we saw a light. Lights don't mean people. Could be anything. Biolights. Sarah. Plant biolights. You know what that means? I ducked behind a shelf, hand on the baseball bat I had reclaimed from my apartment. 3 people entered, all wearing makeshift respirators, all looking desperate and hungry. We need to find more plants, the woman Sarah was saying. The oxygen's getting worse. Even with these masks, we have got maybe another month. The cult's hoarding them, a man replied, taking every mutated plant they find, calling them holy idiots. The cult. I had heard whispers on the radio before the broadcasts died completely. People worshipping the mutant plants like gods, gathering them, protecting them, killing anyone who tried to take them. If they knew about Dot, they would come for us. For me, I waited until the voices faded, then slipped out the back. On the way home, I passed a building with symbols painted on the walls, circles with leaves inside, crude but recognizable. A cult marker. I gave it a wide berth. That night, I reinforced the new house's security, barricaded the doors, covered Dot's glow with a dark cloth when not in use. We were going dark. You are more valuable than you realize, I told Dot. Which means we are both in danger. People will kill for what you can do. We need to stay hidden. Dot's leaves rustled slightly, despite no wind. Yeah, we were on the same page. Week 5. The scientist I met, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, by accident. Not the Sarah from the grocery store, this was a different Sarah. Because apparently, the apocalypse hadn't reduced the number of Sarahs in the world. I was scavenging a pharmacy, Dot on my back, when I heard the crash. Someone had knocked over a shelf in the back. I grabbed my bat, moved quietly toward the sound. A woman in her 50s, gray hair pulled back, wearing a respirator that looked hand-modified, was frantically grabbing medication bottles. She didn't see me until I was 3 feet away. She spun, pulled a knife, held it with the confidence of someone who had never actually stabbed anyone but was willing to start. "Stay back," she said. Her voice was hoarse, probably from breathing bad air through a bad mask. "Just passing through," I said. Same words that had gotten me shot the last time. Probably should have workshopped a better line. She looked at me, really looked, at my lack of respirator, at my casual breathing, at the backpack that was definitely too fancy for standard camping gear. "You are breathing without a mask," she said. "Good observation. How?" I could have lied, should have lied, but something about her, the scientific way she had said, how instead of why, the curiosity trumping fear, made me tell the truth. Plant symbiosis. I am carrying a mutated plant that produces oxygen. We are bonded. I cannot leave its range. She stared at me, lowered the knife slightly. "Show me." I hesitated, then shrugged off the backpack, removed the dark cloth. Dot glowed blue-green in the dim pharmacy light. "Dr. Mitchell," she introduced herself properly after examined Dot with the intensity of a scientist seeing a miracle. She didn't touch, just observed, occasionally muttering technical terms I didn't understand. "This is incredible," she finally said. "Do you know what you have? A plant that keeps me alive? An evolutionary response? A biological countermeasure." She looked at me. "May I explain?" We moved to a less exposed location, an office in the back, with a door I could lock. Dr. Mitchell was an atmospheric chemist, had worked for NOAA before the world ended. She explained Project Chloros. It was designed as a crop killer, she said. Bioengineered algae that would target specific plant DNA, destroy enemy food supplies, clean warfare. except it mutated. How does algae cause oxygen depletion? The mutation changed its metabolism. Instead of targeting crops, it started consuming atmospheric oxygen at an accelerated rate, exponential growth. The algae itself doesn't survive long, maybe 48 hours, but it reproduces fast enough that it doesn't matter. Every generation consumes more oxygen, releases more spores, spreads further, the toxic rain, byproduct of the algae's metabolism. It is essentially algae waste. Highly acidic, kills most remaining plant life, which further reduces oxygen production. It is a death spiral. How long do we have? She looked at me with eyes that had already done the math and hated the answer. 3 months, maybe 4. Until the atmosphere is completely unbreathable for humans. Even with masks, even with tanks, not enough oxygen to sustain us. So we are extinct. Unless, she gestured to dot plants like this. They are mutating too. Hyper-efficient photosynthesis, producing oxygen at rates that should be impossible. I have heard reports of others. Not many, but enough to suggest that life finds a way, even when we have tried to kill it. Can they be replicated, cultivated? I don't know. Nobody knows. Everyone's too busy dying to study it properly. She stood. There is a radio broadcast military, safe zone in Colorado Springs, 80 miles from here. They are gathering survivors, organizing. If anyone's going to figure out how to save humanity, it will be there. Colorado Springs, 80 miles. Might as well be 8,000 in your condition. I have been in worse condition. She looked at Dot, then at me. You are bound to that plant permanently? Seems like it. And you are thinking of traveling 80 miles on foot? Carrying it? Unless you have got a better idea? She didn't. Nobody did. We parted ways. She was heading to a different settlement. Had family there. I gave her some of my medical supplies. She gave me a map with safe routes marked. Good luck, she said at the door. If you make it, tell them what you have. Tell them how it works. Maybe they can replicate it. And if I don't make it, then humanity probably dies with you. No pressure. Great. Just what I needed. Pressure. Preparation. I spent a week planning the journey. 80 miles, 4 miles, per Dalton Y with Dot's weight and the terrain, assuming no major delays, 20 days minimum. More realistically, 30 with rest days and detours around infected populations. I couldn't carry 30 days of food and water plus Dot. The math didn't work, so I would have to scavenge along the way, which meant risk, which meant possibly dying horribly. Fun times ahead, I reinforced Dot's carrying system, added padding, better straps, a cover that protected from rain while allowing sunlight when needed. Tested it by walking around the neighborhood for 6 hours straight. My back hated me. My shoulder, still healing, hated me more. But it worked. Supplies, minimal. Water filtration system, compact food, medical kit. The Glock I had recovered from my apartment, ammunition, knife. The baseball bat had proven itself, so it came too. Maps. I studied every route Dr. Mitchell had marked. Highway 24 most of the way, then smaller roads around collapsed towns. Avoid Denver, the city had fallen hard. Was now an infected metropolis. Training. I needed to be stronger. Faster. I had spent too long sedentary in the fortified apartment, so I worked out. Push-ups, squats, running in place with Dot on my back. My body complained in languages I didn't know existed. You are going to hate this journey, I told Dot during one training session. But hey, at least you don't have to walk, Dot glowed. Probably saying screw you, I am doing all the photosynthesis here. Fair point. Final night before departure, I sat with Dot in the living room, checking supplies one last time. This is insane, I said. You know that, right? We are walking 80 miles through zombie-infested, oxygen-depleted hellscape, because a scientist said there is a safe zone that might not even exist anymore. Dot's glow pulsed softly. Yeah, I don't have a better plan either. I thought about Rowan, wondered if he was alive. If his visions had shown him this moment, if he knew I would end up carrying a plant to Colorado, like some kind of post-apocalyptic botanist. I hoped he was okay. Hoped he had found somewhere safe. Hoped I would see him again, though the odds were approximately 0. Tomorrow we leave, I told Dot. Try not to die, okay? I am kind of attached to you. Literally. Sleep didn't come easy that night. Week 6. The journey begins dawn. Gray sky. Air that smelled like death and regret. I locked the house force of habit, though who I was locking it for remained unclear, and started walking. Dot weighed about 40 pounds with the pot and soil. The backpack distributed the weight well, but 40 pounds is 40 pounds, and after an hour my shoulders were screaming. The streets were emptier than I expected. Most infected had migrated toward noise, the surviving pockets of humanity, making their last desperate stands. Out here in the suburbs, it was quiet. Abandoned cars, empty houses, the occasional body that I tried not to look at too closely. Progress was slow. 4 miles the first day, ending at a gas station where I found bottled water and expired protein bars. I set up Dot in the fading sunlight, watched the leaves soak in the rays, felt my own breathing ease as the oxygen production ramped up. Good plant, I said. Keep that up. Day 2. I hit the highway. Easier walking, harder cover. The infected were sparse but visible, shambling along the road. Maybe following some instinct to migrate. Maybe just wandering aimlessly until they rotted. Makeshift walls, guards with rifles. They saw me, I saw them. Neither of us approached. Probably coincidence. Definitely coincidence. Day 3, it rained. Not normal rain, the toxic stuff Dr. Mitchell had mentioned. It burned on contact, left red welts on my exposed skin. I found shelter in an abandoned school, set up in a classroom where the roof was mostly intact. The rain lasted 6 hours. I spent it reading graffiti on the walls. Someone had written "God is dead," and we killed him. Someone else had added "good riddance." Real, uplifting stuff. Day 4. I encountered another survivor. Not hostile, just desperate. He was maybe 25. Respirator hanging loose, eyes sunken. "Please," he said. "I need. Do you have oxygen? A mask? Anything?" I hesitated. Dot was in my backpack, covered. I was breathing fine without a mask. He noticed. "How are you?" He looked at my pack. Understanding dawned. "You have something. A plant." "I have heard stories." "I don't know what you are talking about, please." He took a step closer. "I am dying. I pulled my gun, hated myself for it. But I couldn't risk him trying to take Dot." "I am sorry," I said. "I cannot help you." He stared at me. Then nodded slowly, turned away. I watched him walk down the highway until he was out of sight. Then I kept walking, feeling like the worst person alive. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept seeing his face. Kept thinking about Jamie, about Rowan, about every person I had failed to help because saving myself was easier. "I am a coward," I told Dot. "You know that?" Dot glowed steadily. Non-judgmental. Plants don't judge. They just photosynthesize and exist. I wished I could be more like Dot. Week 7. Harder terrain, the highway gave way to mountain roads. Colorado has beautiful mountains. I had hiked them before the world ended actual recreational hiking, with trail mix and Instagram photos. Now I was hiking them with a plant on my back. Zombies below, toxic rain above, and zero trail mix. Progress slowed to 3 miles, per Dalton Y. The altitude made breathing harder, even with Dot's oxygen. The trails were steep. My legs burned. My shoulder ached where the bullet wound was still healing. Day 42. I reached a mountain pass and made the mistake of looking back. Denver sprawled in the distance, brown and dead. Fires burned in sections, probably from fighting or accidents. I couldn't see individual infected from this distance, but I knew they were there. Thousands of them packed into a city that had once held millions. "We are not going near that," I told Dot. Absolutely not. The view ahead was only marginally better. More mountains, more empty highway, more distance between me and Colorado Springs. I descended carefully, testing each step, terrified of falling with Dot on my back. If I broke my leg out here, we were both dead. No hospitals, no rescue. Just slow death on a mountainside while infected shambled past. Made it down without incident. Found a stream miraculously not toxic and refilled my water bottles. Let Dot drink too, pouring water gently over the soil. Halfway there, I said. Maybe, possibly. I have lost track of days. Day 45. I found the remains of a settlement. Recently abandoned food still on tables. Doors left open. No bodies, which was almost worse. Bodies meant you knew what happened. No bodies meant imagination filled in the blanks. I scavenged what I could. Found a radio. Hand crank powered, still functional. Spent 20 minutes cranking it, trying to pick up broadcasts. Static. Static. Then, Colorado Springs safe zone compromised redirect to Cheyenne Mountain. Repeat, the signal cut out. Colorado Springs was compromised. Of course it was, because nothing in this apocalypse could go right. But Cheyenne Mountain, that was military. Deep military, bunker-level military. New destination, Cheyenne Mountain, 12 miles past Colorado Springs. 92 miles total from my starting point. We are going to make it, I told Dot, with more confidence than I felt. We have come too far to quit now. Dot's glow pulsed. Yeah, we would make it or die trying. Mostly the latter, probably. Week 8, Colorado Springs, day 54. Barricades had been set up properly, military style. Supply caches marked with faded paint. Evidence of a real evacuation, not just chaos. They had tried here, they would really tried. I moved through the streets carefully, Dot hidden under the cover. The infected were present, but sparse. Most had probably followed the survivors when they evacuated. Found the military checkpoint abandoned, gate hanging open. A sign bolted to the fence, evacuation route Cheyenne Mountain Complex 12 miles west, bring supplies. Bring hope. Bring hope. Like it was something you could pack in a backpack alongside water and protein bars. I resupplied from a cache that had been partially looted but not emptied. Military rations. Mr. S that tasted like cardboard and sadness, but had impressive caloric density. More ammunition. A better knife. Almost there, I told Dot 12. More miles we can do 12 miles in our sleep. Spoiler, we absolutely could not do 12 miles in our sleep. The road to Cheyenne Mountain was steep. Not hiking steep, driving steep. The kind of grade where your car's engine would complain even with modern engineering. I was walking it with 40 pounds on my back and lungs that were functioning through plant symbiosis. I made it maybe 2 miles before I had to stop. Saturday on the side of the road, gasping, feeling every bit of the journey in my bones. This is stupid, I said to Dot. We should just stay here, build a nice little house in Colorado Springs. You can photosynthesize in the yard. I will grow old talking to you. It will be great, Dot glowed. Yeah, you are right. That is giving up. I stood up, kept walking. Day 54. Cheyenne Mountain, the bunker entrance, was built into the mountain itself. Massive blast doors, guard towers, the whole 9 yards of Cold War paranoia made manifest. And it was manned. 2 soldiers in full CBRN gear stood at the gate. Rifles ready. They saw me approaching, raised their weapons. Stop right there, one shouted. Identify yourself. I stopped, hands visible. Holden Beck, civilian. I heard the broadcast about the safe zone. Remove your respirator. Don't have one. They exchanged glances. Even through the visors, I could see confusion. You are breathing without a mask? Yeah, long story. Can I come in, or are we doing this whole conversation out here? How are you breathing? No point hiding it now. I carefully removed my backpack, uncovered Dot. The guards stared as the blue-green glow illuminated the mountain road. I am carrying a mutated plant. We are symbiotically linked. It produces oxygen. I stay alive. We are bonded. I cannot leave its range. Silence. Then one guard keyed his radio. Sergeant, we have a situation at the gate. You need to see this. 20 minutes later, I was inside. Cheyenne Mountain Complex was everything the collapsed safe zones weren't functional organized. Alive 200 survivors packed into a facility built to withstand nuclear war power from geothermal, water from underground springs, food from stockpiles that could last years. They had scientists, doctors, military personnel who actually knew what they were doing, children, families, people who had made it when most hadn't. I was processed like a new recruit. Health check, interview, background verification that mostly involved me telling my story to increasingly senior officers. Dot stayed with me the whole time, glowing in the medical bay while a doctor examined my shoulder wound. Healed remarkably well, Dr. Martinez said. She was 50s, competent, running the medical section with the efficiency of someone who had been in emergency medicine before everything went to hell. You treated it yourself, and some antibiotics I found. Lucky. Could have gone septic easily. She looked at Dot the plant. How did the bond form? My blood. I was shot, collapsed on it, woke up breathing. Fascinating. We have heard reports of other symbiotic cases but never confirmed. You are the first we have seen firsthand? Others exist? Possibly. Radio chatter before most towers went down mentioned plant mutations worldwide, some producing oxygen, some toxic, some just dying faster than normal plants. Evolution in real time. Humanity pushed nature to the brink, and nature's pushing back. She checked Dot's health leaves, vibrant, root system strong, no signs of stress from the journey. You carried this thing 90 miles? 92. But who is counting? She smiled. Genuine warmth. Week 9. The bunker I was assigned quarters in Section D, a converted storage room with a cot, a desk, and a window that looked out at concrete walls. Luxury. Dot got the desk space. I set the pot there, positioned under grow lights. The engineers had rigged up. Not as good as sunlight, but better than nothing. Welcome to your new home, I told Dot. It is not much, but it is better than a gas station in Nebraska. The bunker had routines, schedules. Order. Everyone contributed, farming in the hydroponics bay, maintaining systems, standing guard, teaching children, a microcosm of civilization trying to hold on. I joined the scavenging teams groups that ventured out to nearby settlements, bringing back supplies. My symbiosis with Dot made me valuable. I could go places others couldn't, stay out longer, breathe without a mask. Day 56, I met the head scientist, Dr. Raymond. Former DARPA researcher, now running the science division from a repurposed missile silo. Your plant, he said, examining Dot with instruments that beeped and whirred. It is producing oxygen at rates that should be thermodynamically impossible. The photosynthesis efficiency is off the charts. Is that good? It is miraculous. If we can replicate this, if we can cultivate these plants, or induce the mutations artificially, we might be able to reverse the atmospheric damage. Maybe not entirely, but enough to survive. Can you? I don't know. We are trying. But we need more samples, more data. He looked at me. There are reports of other survivors with plants. Signals we have picked up, mostly garbled. We are organizing expeditions to find them, bring them here. So I am not unique. You are rare, but not alone. We coordinates marked. Some have gone silent. Some are still broadcasting. I studied the map. Red dots scattered across Colorado, Wyoming, New Mexico. Other people carrying other plants, other symbionts, other survivors of a world that had tried very hard to kill them. You want me to find them? Eventually. First, rest, recover. Get to know the facility. He smiled. We are not sending you out immediately. You have earned a break. A break. When was the last time I had had one of those? Before the apocalypse, before Rowan's warnings, before everything went to hell. I returned to my quarters, sat on the cot, looked at Dot. We made it, I said. We actually made it. Dot glowed steadily. Yeah, we did. Day 57, the note appeared under my door during morning rounds. Plain paper. Handwritten. 2 words. Archive room. My heart stopped. Rowan. I ran. The reunion, the archive room, was deep in the bunker. Converted storage for pre-war records nobody cared about anymore. I found him there, sitting at a table, surrounded by papers. He looked old, not 30s old, not even 50s old. He looked like someone had taken a person my age and fast-forwarded 70 years. White hair, thin to the point of skeletal, skin papery and translucent. His hands trembled as he wrote, "Rowan?" He looked up. His eyes, those were the same. Still Rowan's eyes, even in that ancient face. Holden. His voice was rough, barely above a whisper. "You made it." I sat across from him, unable to process what I was seeing. "What happened to you? The visions? 2 years? 3 years? Depends on how far I look and how hard I focus." He coughed, painful and wet. "I looked a lot. Spent 8 years looking, trying to find a future where you survived. Jesus Christ, Rowan, I saw thousands of futures. Most of them, humanity dies. All of them, most people die. But some had hope, had survivors, had you." He smiled. And it was still his smile somehow. "I found this one, guided you to it. The warnings, the preparations, even the plant. You knew about Dot, saw the possibility, saw you bleeding, saw the mutation, saw the bond forming, couldn't guarantee it, but I put you in position." He looked at papers spread before him. Notes, diagrams, equations. "Spent my life making sure you lived through the death of the world. Why? Because I failed, Jamie. Simple, direct. I worked for the company that made the bioweapon. I didn't know they told us it was agricultural research, but I should have known, should have seen. And when Jamie needed help, I chose the company over him, over you. That wasn't it was." He met my eyes. "You were right. I cared more about my paycheck than people's lives. And when I discovered what Chloros really was, what they would really made me help build, I quit. But I was too late. Couldn't stop it. The weapon was already in place. The military already had it. So I did the only thing I could." You looked ahead. "I used the exposure I had gotten accidental contamination while investigating to gain precognition. And I looked. Every vision aged me. Every vision took memories. I am forgetting things. Holden, my parents, college. That argument we had, I know it happened. But I cannot remember the exact words anymore. Every vision erases a piece of me." I felt something break inside. "Rowan, you didn't have to." "Yes, I did." He pushed a paper toward me. "This is the last vision. The one that brought you here. After this, I am done. Cannot see anymore. Too old, too erased. But this was enough. My arrival. This moment. You saw this exact conversation, saw a version of it. Enough to know I needed to be here." He coughed again. "I am dying, but I got to see you survive. That is enough." I wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him there was medical care here, that Dr. Martinez could help, that we could fix this, but I could see the truth in his eyes. Some things cannot be fixed. Some prices cannot be refunded. "I forgive you," I said. "For Jamie, for everything. I was angry, but I forgive you, and I forgive you, for the anger, for cutting me out. You had every right." He smiled. "We were good friends once. We were, I wish I could remember it better. Remember us better. But it is fading." He looked at his notes. "I am forgetting who I was. Only thing left is knowing I saved someone important." Why was I important? Why me? He was quiet for a long moment. "Then, because you were my friend, and I failed you once." We sat together as the day progressed. He told me what he could remember, fragments of our college years, late-night conversations, that time we drove to Vegas on a whim and lost all our money on blackjack. The memories were scattered, incomplete, but they were there. He talked about the visions, the futures he had seen and discarded, searching for one where humanity survived. How most versions ended in extinction, how finding even a slim possibility had taken everything he had. As evening came, his breathing became labored. Dr. Martinez arrived. Someone must have called her. She examined him briefly, then looked at me and shook her head. I held Rowan's hand. It was cold, too light, like holding paper. "Thank you," I said, "for everything, for the warnings, for this, for giving me a chance. You survive," he whispered. His eyes were closed, but I could tell he was smiling. That is enough. That is everything. His breathing slowed, quieted, stopped. Rowan K. died in a bunker under a mountain, having spent his life and memories to save a friend he could barely remember. I sat there, holding his hand, feeling something I couldn't name. Grief, maybe, gratitude, a mix of both. He saw the future and chose hope, I said to the empty room. The bunker had a small cemetery, really just a clearing with markers for those who had died since arrival. Rowan's grave joined 20 others, simple cross with his name and dates. I added an inscription, carved it myself with a knife. He saw the future and chose hope. Dr. Martinez stood with me during the burial. Others came, 2 people who had known Rowan briefly, who had heard his story, who understood what he had sacrificed. Not just me. He was trying to save humanity. Through you, by keeping you alive. She looked at Dot, which I would brought to the burial. He knew you would be important somehow, that you would matter in ways he couldn't fully see. I am just a guy with a plant. You are a guy who walked 90 miles carrying hope on his back. You are proof that adaptation is possible, that symbiosis can save us. She handed me a radio. These coordinate signals from other plant carriers. We need to find them, bring them here, learn from them. You are the best person to do it. Why me? Because you have already done the impossible once. What is a few more impossible things? Fair point. I stood at Rowan's grave as the sun set, Dot glowing softly in the backpack beside me. I will make it mean something, I told him. Told the grave, told the mountain, your sacrifice, everything you gave up. I will make it matter. The wind picked up, cold and thin and smelling of toxic rain. I turned and walked back to the bunker. Days 59 and 60. Decision: the bunker was safe. Secure. Everything I had fought for, walked for, bled for, and I couldn't stay. Day 59. I met with Dr. Raymond and the military commander, Colonel Reeves. They laid out the plan: expeditions to find other plant carriers, bring them back, study the symbiosis, potentially cultivate the mutations. We need scouts, Reeves said. People who can survive outside, who know the terrain, who have experience with the infected. You fit all 3 criteria. Plus, Dr. Raymond added, you can go places our people cannot. The oxygen depletion is getting worse. Even with masks and tanks, our range is limited. You have unlimited range as long as you stay near your plant. Dot. What? The plant's name is Dot. They looked at each other. Raymond smiled. Right? Dot. Point is, you are valuable as an explorer. We can provide supplies, equipment, coordinates. You would be helping build something bigger than individual survival. Rebuilding civilization through botanical expeditions. That is the pitch? Essentially, yes. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I could stay. Set up in my quarters, work local scavenging, live out my days in relative safety. It is what anyone sane would do. But I kept thinking about that survivor on the highway. The one who had asked for help. The one I had turned away. I kept thinking about Rowan, spending his life looking forward, trying to save people he would never meet. I kept thinking about Dot pulsing with bioluminescent light, producing oxygen, adapting to an apocalypse humanity had caused. Day 60, I gave them my answer. I will go. But on one condition, name it. Anyone I find, anyone with plants or without, anyone who needs help, we bring them back. No exceptions. No leaving people behind. Reeves frowned. That is not always practical. That is the condition. We are not rebuilding civilization by repeating the same selfish bullshit that got us here. We do it right, or we don't do it at all. They outfitted me that afternoon. Better backpack. Better weapons. Radio equipment. Maps with coordinates marked. Supplies for a month-long expedition. That night, I packed methodically, Dot watching from the desk. We are leaving, I told the plant. Again, I know. We just got here. But there are people out there who need help. Yeah, it is dangerous. But so was the last 90 miles, and we made it through that. The glow pulsed, steady and strong. I finished packing, set the backpack beside the cot, and tried to sleep. Too much nervous energy, too much anticipation. Finally gave up around 2 a.m., went to the observation deck, a converted silo opening that offered a view of the outside world. The mountains were dark, dead. The sky was that sickly gray that meant more toxic rain tomorrow. The world was dying. But somewhere out there, people were surviving, adapting, fighting back, and I was going to find them. Day 61. Departure dawn came cold and gray. I stood at the main gate, dot secured in the upgraded backpack, supplies checked and double-checked. Dr. Martinez had given me a final medical clearance. Reeves had briefed me on the coordinates. Raymond had reminded me 3 times to document everything. A small group had gathered to see me off. Not many, the bunker was busy. People had work, but enough to make it feel significant. First radio check at noon, Reeves said. And Holden? He extended his hand. Thank you for doing this. For trusting us. I shook it. Thank you for letting me. Dr. Martinez handed me a journal. For notes, observations. Anything you learn about the plants, the symbionts, the world out there, it all matters. I took it, slipped it into a side pocket. Stay safe, she said. Come back alive. That is the plan. The gates opened. Beyond them, the dead world waited. I adjusted Dot's weight, felt the familiar pressure on my shoulders, the steady pulse of oxygen production, the connection that had kept me alive for 61 days. Ready? I asked Dot. The leaves rustled. Not from wind, there was no wind inside the bunker. I stepped through the gates. The mountain air hit me first, thin and toxic and wrong. But within Dot's bubble, within our shared atmosphere, it was breathable. Perfect. I walked maybe 100 meters before stopping, turning back. Cheyenne Mountain stood behind me, massive and secure. A fortress against the apocalypse. Safe, permanent. Everything I had worked for. I turned away and kept walking. The radio crackled. Dr. Raymond's voice. Tinny but clear. First coordinates are 40 miles northeast. Signal's been consistent for 3 weeks. Someone's out there with a plant. Copy that. Heading out. The sun broke through the gray clouds for just a moment. Weak but present. Dot's leaves angled toward it automatically, soaking in the light. I walked down the mountain road, past abandoned cars and empty guard posts, toward the coordinates and whatever waited there. The world was dying. Humanity was dying. Civilization had collapsed, but somewhere in that death, life was adapting, evolving, surviving. And I was going to be part of that story. Not the hero, not the savior. Just a guy with a plant walking through the apocalypse, trying to help where he could. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Every day at noon, I had key the mic and report in. This is Scout 1 to Mountain Base. Daily check-in. I had found another one that morning, a woman in her mid-40s, bonded to what looked like a fern mutation. She had named it Frond, which showed about as much creativity as naming a dog, but I wasn't judging. She was weak but stable, and I was bringing her back. Found another survivor with a plant symbiont, I said. Female, mid-40s, ETA 4 days. Copy. That makes 16 you have recovered. Good work. 17. If you count the guy with the cactus, I corrected. And you should, because that thing is amazing. Produces water and oxygen. Little bastard smug about it too. There was a pause. Plants cannot be smug. Holden, you haven't met this cactus. I checked Dot's leaves, still healthy, still glowing softly in the afternoon light. How is the cultivation project? Dr. Raymond thinks he can induce the mutation artificially. Maybe another 6 months before we can test it. Your samples have been invaluable. Tell him Dot says he is welcome. Another pause. Longer this time. You are still talking to the plant? Dot and I have been through some shit together, I said. We are bonded. Literally and figuratively. Fair enough. Anything else to report? I looked around at the empty highway. The scattered infected shambling in the distance. Fewer of them now. Something was changing. Yeah, The infected populations are dropping. Not sure why. Maybe they are finally breaking down? Maybe the oxygen depletion is affecting them somehow. Either way, it is getting easier to travel. Good to hear. And the toxic rain? Still a problem, but less frequent. Plants are fighting back across the board, not just the mutated ones. Nature's adapting. Humanity's last hope is botanical warfare against algae we created, the operator said. The irony isn't lost on anyone. Irony's been the theme of this whole apocalypse, I said. See you in 4 days. Scout 1 out. Safe travels. Holden, Mountain Base out. I kept walking. They tell me I recovered 47 plant symbiotic survivors over 8 months. Dr. Raymond's cultivation project succeeded on day 312. They figured out how to artificially induce the oxygen-producing mutations. By year 2 post-outbreak, atmospheric oxygen stabilized at 16%. Low, but survivable. By year 5, it reached 18%. Humanity adapted, like it always does. I lead the Botanical Recovery Division now. Still coordinate expeditions. Still carry DOT, even though I don't technically need the symbiotic bond anymore. When people ask why, I tell them the truth. We are friends. You don't abandon friends. They commemorated Rowan at Cheyenne Mountain. Annual ceremony, formal stuff. His grave marker says what I wanted it to say. He saw the future and chose hope. That hope, it turns out, was enough. The end.